The sun was bright as I headed south on Interstate 95. It was early spring and I was happy to leave the north for my new home. The traffic moved along at a pretty fast pace from the Carolinas south and picked up more speed south of Jacksonville. Since my legs tend to cramp up, I stop for either gas or a break about every hour, and besides, I drink so much coffee or Diet Coke that I really do have to stop that often. The traffic was steady for most of the trip, heavy around Jacksonville, then thinner as I approached Daytona Beach, where I spent the night. On my way at 8 a.m. the next morning after a free breakfast in the hotel, I got off the interstate an hour or so later at Fort Pierce and switched to the Florida Turnpike. The turnpike parallels I-95 south and avoids a lot of the traffic through Fort Lauderdale and Miami. My last stop on the mainland was for gas and a burger at the end of the Turnpike Homestead extension in Florida City. From there south there is a long stretch of straight divided two-lane road through the southern end of the Everglades to Key Largo. It is the beginning of the overseas highway that ends in Key West, my destination. The road to Key West is about 100 miles of mostly two-lane road. The speed limit is moderate as the highway goes through one small town after another. I stopped at a roadside park and changed my look. I took off my t-shirt, put on my mastectomy bra and a feminine top. I did my makeup as well as I could, looking in the mirror on the back of the sun visor. I was changing my life and I wanted to look female when I arrived at my apartment. I started my transition 3 months ago, and although my face is more feminine, especially with my long hair, I have no breast development or fat relocation. But I am thin and make a reasonable presentation for someone who is almost 5'11". I picked Key West as a place to live because the locals are pretty laid back and accepting. It is also about as far away from anywhere as you can get. I trashed all my male clothing and now have only women's things. It didn't make any sense to keep my old clothes since I had no intention of ever wearing them again. On my last trip, about a month ago, I rented a small apartment. Each apartment has one parking space in small gravel-covered area in front of the apartment building. My apartment is on the second floor but has a ground floor entrance. I propped the door open and carried all my luggage and stuff up the wooden stairs to the second floor. It is a small apartment, one main room, a kitchen, one bedroom and a single bathroom. There is also a small wooden deck at the back. The view out of the front windows is of trees and the apartment house across the street. But the view out the back through the sliding glass door is of a lush green courtyard. Tall trees block the view of the apartments on the next street over. There is also a small roof over the deck, so there is shade during the day and protection from a light rain. It was dinner time and I was hungry, but I wasn't ready to go to a restaurant as yet. Actually, I was a little scared someone would see me as a man in woman's clothing. But I wasn't as apprehensive about going to the grocery store. There are all kinds of people in grocery stores, old people, pretty young women, some not so pretty women, and a few men. I put myself in the not so pretty woman category. Also, people don't look at each other very closely in grocery stores. They are too busy scanning the shelves for the food items or looking down the aisles as they push the grocery cart. Everyone seems to be in some kind of daze. Even the checkout clerks spend most of their time looking at the groceries they are scanning as they pass the barcodes over the scanner. Then they look at the bags as they load the food into the paper or plastic bags. They only look up to ask you for the money. Then say something nice like "Have a nice day" or "Thank you for shopping with us" as they hand you the receipt. So I felt pretty comfortable as I headed to the nearby Publix supermarket. I changed to shorts and a cotton top with flip-flops on my feet. I think flip-flops are the universal feminine footwear in Florida. As expected, no one said a word to me as I went up and down the aisles filling my grocery cart. The young bag boy at the checkout counter asked me if I wanted him to put the groceries in my car. I felt very good that he was going to offer to help a woman. He also called me ma'am. Of course, I let him take my groceries out to my car and put them in the trunk. I offered him a tip, but he said it was a free service from Publix. Back home, I hauled the groceries up the stairs, reminding myself that I got a second-floor apartment for privacy, but wondering if this up and down was going to get old. In a short time, I had dinner ready and was sitting on the sofa to watch football. Even women watch football, don't they? During the next couple of days, I toured the island and took in all the tourist sites. Key West is not that big, and it is hard to realize that at one time it was the largest city in Florida. I found a local salon, recommended by a lady I met on one of my trips to the grocery. I had told her how much I admired her hair and asked where she had it done. I got the full treatment, or at least for me, the full treatment. I had a pedicure, a manicure with nail extensions, a haircut, and permanent. When I looked in the mirror, I felt so very good. It was a dream come true. I also loved my beautiful long red nails. They matched my toes that were now on display with the flip-flops. One problem developed that I had not anticipated, although I should have. I needed more bras. It is warm, or rather hot down here, and my bra gets all sweaty. Like I need a fresh one every day. Also, my skin sweats under the breast forms and drips down and soaks the elastic on the bottom of the bra. I ordered a couple more online. I would have bought more, but they are pretty pricey. On about the third day, while I was fixing some dinner, there was a knock at my door. I had no idea who it could be, but I went down and looked through the peephole. There was a young woman standing there. When I opened the door, she introduced herself as Cheryl. She lived in the second-floor apartment next to mine and came to invite me over for a drink and to meet her roommate. I told her I was in the middle of fixing dinner, but she insisted I come over. So, I told her I would be over in a minute, went upstairs, turned off the burner on the stove, brushed my hair, put on some lipstick, and went to their door. Cheryl had left it open for me. My heart was beating a mile a minute. These were the first people I had met as my new me, Monica. Cheryl's roommate, Jennifer, was another young woman about Cheryl's age, perhaps 25. They greeted me like a long-lost friend. I was happily surprised. Cheryl and Jennifer both worked in town and had been here almost a year. They warned me about the guy downstairs. He is always hitting on them. I said that at my age, mid-30s, I don't think he will be so aggressive. No, they said, 30s is right down his alley. They were so happy to have someone living next door. Cheryl took me out on the deck and showed me that there is a door between the two apartments. They hoped I would leave it unlocked so we could get together without running up and down the stairs. After a few glasses of wine, Jennifer suggested we go out for something to eat. She was in the mood for something fried. So off we went to a local bar/restaurant. We all ordered appetizers and more wine. I really enjoyed the conversation when suddenly Jennifer asked if I was a tyranny. I gulped and said yes. Cheryl said that she and Jennifer were lesbian and it was so wonderful to have me next door. I explained that I considered myself lesbian also because I didn't want to be with men. Both women laughed and said that they could introduce me to some other women my age. Life can't get any better than this. I started to cry. We all toasted to a wonderful life. The next morning I had one whale of a hangover. I only weigh 155 pounds and with female hormones my body processes alcohol like a woman, so I was pretty smashed last night. Then I remembered I had an appointment with my new doctor at 10 a.m. She had been recommended by my doctor up north because her practice included transgender patients. The office is just off Duval Street on the southern side of the island. I parked in the nearby parking lot and took the elevator to the 4th floor. There were 3 women sitting in the waiting room. An assistant handed me a health form to fill out. Boy, they ask a lot of questions. I turned it in and waited for perhaps 20 minutes. A door opened and an assistant called my name. I followed her into a small room with an examination table. She took my pulse and blood pressure, then handed me a hospital gown and told me to get undressed, put on the gown, and wait for the doctor. In a few minutes the doctor came in. She was short and had the most beautiful head of light brown hair. She introduced herself and opened the discussion with me about what I had already done and what medication I was on and so forth. Then she did a brief examination of my body and listened to my heart and breathing. She noted that my nipples had started to bloom and that I should expect some growth in the near future. At first it will only feel like a softness in the chest but will expand bit by bit. But she warned that men do not usually grow very large breasts and need augmentation to look natural. She also noted that I had had my testicles removed. The scrotum had atrophied and my penis had shrunk up pretty much also. She asked if I planned on SRS and I said no. I told her that I really am not attracted to men, only women, so I didn't plan on ever having a vaginoplasty because I didn't think I would ever need a vagina. She said that it was good because there wasn't much skin left to work with. We went over what to expect in the next few months and said that she would like to see me every month or so. Since I didn't have any testicles, I didn't need any testosterone blockers, only female hormones. She said that she wanted me to get some blood work done before our next meeting and then gave me a prescription for hormones. I left feeling really good about my new doctor. Key West is beautiful and a great place to live, but not a great place for large-size women's shoes or clothes for that matter. Once a month or so I drove up to Miami for a day of shopping. There are outlet stores of every kind in Miami: shoes, dresses, shorts, tops, everything. I am too tall for high heels, although I would love to wear them, so I mostly bought flats or low wedge heel shoes and plenty of flip-flops. In Miami I could actually try them on, unlike the internet where I could get everything, but it was always a crapshoot as to whether it would fit or even look good. Cheryl and Jennifer became good friends. They invited me to their parties where I met a wide range of Key West people. Many of their guests were lesbian, but I can only guess because no wears a name badge with lesbian on it. But when 2 women come together, I guess they are a couple. Not many men came to their parties, and those that did were not the macho-looking guy. I guess they were just normal guys they knew from work. At one party a very tall gal started a conversation with me over a glass of white wine. She was easily 5'10" but wore 3-inch heels which made her over 6 foot. I was impressed with her casual manner and her well-manicured appearance. Her hair and makeup were impeccable. After only a few minutes I got the distinct impression that she was hitting on me. This had never happened to me before. I really wasn't sure what to do. So I just kept talking. The next day Jennifer came over and said that Gloria was taken by me. She had seen Gloria at lunch and she kept asking questions about me. I asked Jennifer what I should do. And she said to just keep it up at the next party, which was next Friday, and see what happens. But, she added, beware, Gloria likes to be in control. Unless you are willing to be the weaker partner, don't go out with her. I thanked her for the information but then wondered what came next. My entire life I had always been the man in the relationship. I was expected to be in charge, or so I thought. I didn't know if I could handle a relationship with a stronger-willed person. But there was only one way to find out. I agreed to dinner with Gloria. I really enjoyed the evening. As expected, Gloria drove and picked out the restaurant. Again, she was well groomed from her hair to her nails. Her makeup was flawless. I asked her how she did it, and she said that she had taken a cosmetology course with the idea of becoming a beautician but decided against it because it didn't pay enough, so she borrowed some money and opened a cosmetics store that sold all natural cosmetics to tourists. The hours could be long, but the income was excellent, especially in season. Jennifer had already told Gloria that I was transitioning, so I didn't have to worry about telling her of my condition. But Gloria did ask some questions about why I needed to become a woman and how did I like it so far. She seemed to accept my explanations at face value. And that was good because I told it like it is. Almost my whole life I looked in the mirror and saw a boy and then a man, but I wanted to see a girl and then a woman. But I never told anyone. My therapist explained it as a shame response. I was ashamed to want to be a woman. The shame was so great that I did lots of manly things to cover things up. I went out for all the athletic teams in high school, and at college I took on a sloppy look with long hair and pierced ears. But I did like girls. I got laid as often as the next guy. After graduation from college, I got a good paying job and had enough money to afford to cross-dress. Although I rarely went out, I spent many weekends as Monica. Sometimes I put on a nice outfit and went for a long drive. But this wasn't enough. I saw a therapist who worked with me to help me find myself. After about 6 months, I came to the conclusion that I needed to become a woman. She agreed since I didn't have any other issues. She said that sometimes people think that changing gender will solve all their problems, but that changing gender only solves one problem, feeling that you are the wrong sex. After dinner, Gloria drove me home. I asked her in for a glass of wine, but she said not on the first date. But that she enjoyed my company and hoped to go out together again soon. A couple of weeks later, another woman hit on me at one of Cheryl's parties. We went out together to a movie the next night. She was a little more aggressive than Gloria and was into kissing and hugging on the first date. In a few months, I knew a number of women my age, joined a bowling league, and went bicycling with a club. My confidence grew, and so did my body. My face was very feminine, my breasts were there but only in A cup. My butt and thighs were larger, which filled out shorts and jeans much better. Except for boobs, I had an excellent body. So I went to Miami to see a plastic surgeon. I felt more confident in using a Miami clinic for breast augmentation and everything else. After a year on hormones, my doctor suggested I go ahead with breast augmentation. I wanted a larger chest than I had now. I visited a well-known clinic. After a brief examination, I scheduled my surgery for the following month. My surgery was to include breasts, chin, and Adam's apple. The time really dragged. I was so anxious for the surgery that I had trouble sleeping. Also, I could stop wearing those silicone breasts. I let my hair get longer and longer. I loved playing with it. I had always been jealous of women with long hair. I wanted to be able to put it up in a ponytail as I jogged. It was plenty long now. It also was starting to show some gray, and I was beside myself. I was too young to be a gray-haired old lady. So I colored it to a rich brown that matched my natural color. The month finally went by and I drove up to Miami, South Miami actually. Jennifer came with me. We checked into a very nice hotel near the clinic. I brought a cooler full of food because the doctor said I would have to stay at least a week for recovery. He didn't want me driving back to Key West right away. On the morning of the surgery, Jennifer drove me to the clinic without any jewelry or a purse or anything. Jennifer had my identification. The front desk took my information and had me sit down. The Today Show was on the big screen flat TV in the waiting area. In less than 15 minutes, the nurse called out my name. She escorted me down a hall and through some double doors to a large room with many alcoves all around the perimeter. She led me to one of those, handed me a plastic bag for my clothes and valuables and a hospital gown. She pulled the curtain closed so I could undress and put everything in the bag. I was trying to tie the gown in the back when she came in and told me to leave it untied and to lie down on the gurney. It was really cold and she provided heated blankets to cover me up. In a few minutes, the anesthesiologist came in, introduced himself and checked the charts. He asked a few questions and then had me sign a permission form for him to put me under. While this was going on, the nurse took my blood pressure and pulse. We chit-chatted while waiting for the doctor. In less than a quarter hour, the surgeon arrived and had me tell him what he was going to do. He used a marker and put some marks on my chin, throat, and chest. Then he said he would see me in the OR. The nurse had put in 4 needles in my left hand and hooked it up to a saline drip. She told me she was giving me something to ease my anxiety, as she used a needle to inject something into the 4-flow tube. Then she pushed my bed out of the alcove and down the hall to the OR. That is the last thing I remember. When I came to, I was in the recovery room. I was very groggy but awake. Almost immediately, a nurse came over and welcomed me back to the world of the living. She said that the surgery had gone well and I might start feeling some pain. I tried to look down and see the results, and she raised the bed so I could see easier. There they were, 2 raised areas on my chest. I reached up to touch them, but she said not to. Jennifer came in and sat next to me. I lay there for quite some time. Finally, I said I have to pee. The nurse said that is what she had been waiting for. It was required that I urinate before leaving the recovery room. She brought over a bedpan and I had no trouble relieving myself. In a few minutes, 2 attendants helped me stand up, get dressed and sit in a wheelchair. They rolled me to the clinic exit where Jennifer was waiting with the car to take me back to our hotel. The nurse had given me some pain pills and said that she had called in a prescription for me to a local pharmacy that delivered. I really felt like I had an elephant on my chest. I spent the next 2 days in the big easy chair in my hotel room taking pills and drinking water. I only got up to use the toilet. During the day, Jennifer went shopping in Miami while I watched TV or read magazines. At the end of the week, Jennifer took me to the doctor's office. He removed the bandages, revealing the 2 most beautiful breasts. He removed the band-aid on my throat and took out 2 stitches. He also removed the bandages from my chin and removed the stitches. It looked like I had been a pretty good fight, but he said things looked great and I could go home anytime. But come back in a month for a follow-up. He gave me a cotton support bra to hold me up until I felt better. He recommended I wear a bra continuously for the immediate future until I was comfortable. Jennifer and I drove back to Key West. Every major bump was painful as my new breasts bounced up and down. They didn't feel like I expected. Natural breasts are all fatty tissue and move all over the place. There was no question there was something inside me that looked great but had a more solid form. I still loved them. Now I felt and looked more like a woman than ever before. When I got home, Cheryl brought over a casserole she had baked. She wanted to see my new boobs and I was more than willing to show off. It took almost a month for my face to return to normal. I loved to look at myself in the mirror. I wasn't a raving beauty, but I was pretty. I changed my wardrobe some. I could now wear tank tops without a bra. I loved to show some cleavage and my nipples stood out through the thin cloth. I felt really sexy. After over a year of leisure, I was getting bored. I was also spending all my savings. In my previous life, I'd been in sales. Having worked for different companies, I was an experienced outside sales rep. Gloria set me up for an interview with a local radio station. They were looking for someone to sell airtime. They called the position something like executive airtime consultant. It was sales, plain and simple. I loved it, and I guess they liked me because the next day I was called back to meet with the station's manager. No one said anything about gender or anything. He just said I was hired and should plan on starting work Monday. I was so excited. I called Gloria and let her know that I had been hired. I had a party at my apartment Friday evening to celebrate my newfound job. I invited the people I had met during the last year, about 25 men and women, including Cheryl and Jennifer next door. I didn't want the guy from downstairs complaining about the noise, so I invited him. I also thought it would be funny watching him try to hit on the women at the party. I probably overspent on food and drink, but I was in a celebratory mood. I had hot buffalo wings from the place on the corner, hush puppies, shrimp, nuts, nachos, veggies, and assorted dips. I filled a small tub with ice and filled it with beer and wine. I got wine in these cute little bottles so I didn't have to worry about glasses. It might be a little tacky, but I liked it. And so did everyone else. People started showing up at 7 and the last person left at about 1 a.m. I was exhausted and left cleanup for the next morning and went straight to bed. I cleaned everything up Saturday morning and then drove to Miami for some shopping. I needed some business outfits for my new job. I even bought a couple of pair of high-heeled shoes. Gloria said that people respond well to a really tall woman. On Sunday, I went to church. It was the first time since moving to Key West. I was so thankful for my new life and how well things had turned out. I had really created a new life and I loved it.